Hi guys, this is Wenzes from Below the Radar Above the System, and now I want to talk to you about the price of individuation. Individuation is a term used in Jungian psychology. It's the one about becoming whole and finding everything within you to be happy and a complete individual without having to kind of adapt to other people in that matter. You can just really be yourself. And the definition is that it's differentiation. So the goal is to have a completely individual personality, different from the collective, as in how society is built. Because each one of us has specific things that we care about and the way we see reality that are not in everybody's top priorities, and we kind of neglect those things. And there's a payoff. There's a cost to becoming individuated. And I want to talk to you about this because the price is very often a key factor why we don't go that journey. The information I found that I'm going to talk about here, I found on Quora, and there was an article by Maxwell Perrington, and he kind of like put together a lot of pieces from literature from Carl Jung, and this is where I got like this information from. So the problem is, first off, if you want to be yourself, you have the thought that nobody's really gonna like you. Nobody's gonna integrate me, and I'll also hurt people with my opinion, pretty much, or I will hurt people with my truth. That you don't. For example, you're happy. You're a happy person. You think everything is fine. You think your life is great. You think that you're very strong, nobody can hurt you, and you're scared to put it out there because just by you putting it out there, people will get upset and they will get jealous because they are not happy, and you don't want to do that. So so the main thing is you want to be distinct from collective psychology. See, within you, this is how Jung sees it, you also have a understanding of what is collectively right. For example, if somebody's really asking you for help, it's kind of hard to say no. Sometimes we just kind of go and don't help anybody if you see like, oh, I can't help that person or so on. But normally we get a bad conscience in not helping somebody if somebody really asks for help and sincerely asks for help. And the aim of individuation is not to overcome our own psychology, but to be aware of it, to understand how it works, where our limits lay, and so on. And individuation increases our awareness of our unique personal reality, which I think also those videos help a lot, because as INFJs we kind of have a similar awareness how we see the world. And I really hope that through this we can kind of like create a balance, from feedback and so on, about helping each other really make that our real truth and our reality. And this, as I said, this includes personal strengths and limitations, but also a deeper appreciation for humanity in general. Because as we said, you might think, yeah, if I'm being happy and I'm putting that out there, you'll hurt other people. Once you really do that, once you allow yourself to do that, and once you allow to yourself really being yourself, you don't have to watch you don't need something to feed your ego, and you can really be beneficial to others because it really gives you something of value. And your ego can also be being a selfless person. This is also an ego thing. You're also feeding your ego if you think, oh, I'm being selfless and I'm being so good. And this is as an ego thing as anything else, when you really like kind of putting everything, not putting your energy out, which is actually the best beneficial thing for others you can do, because they have one more energy. They can decide if they can kind of take something from and learn something from. We are made differently, but as long as we kind of like don't live the life and we don't put our energy out, there's no chance for somebody to be affected by it. And our energy is very subconscious, very, very deep, because we're deep in general. And this is something you kind of see how people change and switch, but it's not something people like directly get. We're not like a movie star or something, but we kind of hit like really deeply, and we can hurt people really deeply, and we can also be beneficial. And a lot of people kind of actually complain that we don't put anything out there. You can't really hurt us, and it is important to kind of do this, because you don't know who you're helping with just being yourself. Mostly, or foremost, you're helping yourself. You're helping yourself, and you're helping others through that. Never forget that. It's not something you should be ashamed of. And then as an individual, you're not a single separate being. Your very existence presupposes collective relationship. So you belong to a community. You care about other people. It's not like you're a psychopath just because you become individuated. The fact that you kind of care so much about the collective and how this affects others shows it to begin with. So once you're kind of like able to be individuated, this leads to a more intense and broader collective relationship, and not isolation. And I thought for the longest time, if I'm being myself, I'm going to be isolated. I'm going to be completely isolated. Nobody, like, what am I going to do? Where am I going to get my love from? Because I was so conditioned to get my love from being selfless, from being passive, from, giving other people what they want, that I didn't understand that through this, I can get much more love, much more understanding, and be so much more beneficial to people. And this is something I just was not aware of. And it's the best thing you can do. But as I said, we're talking about the cost here. So, we said this is not feeding. You don't want to feed the ego. You could also be self-pity. So you need to kind of stop these things. You need to say, okay, you need to change your thinking and say, maybe my whole life I thought I was being selfless. I'm a good person because I'm selfless, and maybe this is not the best way to go. Maybe I'm not that maybe it's not the best thing for me to be selfless in that regard. Maybe it's selfish that I'm not putting my energy out and being, just kind of thinking about not getting in trouble. And individuation does not shut one out from the world, but gathers the world to itself. See, when you kind of like make that switch, you start talking to people differently. You start addressing different people. You kind of like really go to those people who are loving and kind to begin with. And you kind of build yourself up from that. And then you realize how much you actually cherish those people and what they can do for you, and how you can help them be happier and so on. And it gives you satisfaction you haven't really experienced before in that matter, and it's the best thing ever, because you don't even have to pretend to be something you're not. Individuation has two aspects. The first is internal and subjective process of integration, meaning living your truth. So if you think, oh, I'm strong, I can manage life, I don't need somebody to do something for me, I'm good, then you're allowed to think that. Nobody has the right to make you think or feel differently than you want. If you want to think, oh, I'm the greatest, I'm perfect, or if you want to tell yourself that, the fact is, if you really, really do that, if you're happy with yourself, when you talk to people, you don't act like this. Like, I'm a typical person. I love those songs where it's, oh, I'm the greatest and here and that. But I don't think of myself, and I actually, in that moment, I really get into this. Like, I really think, yeah, I'm badass and I'm the baddest and so on. But when I think of people, I think of people who've put me down. When I go to my friends or my colleagues and so on, not in 1 minute do I think I'm something better than them. I don't. And I think if I did, I wouldn't be willing to put it out there like that, because otherwise, I would know that, people will be jealous or whatever, I would think. So you should kind of allow yourself, at least in your mind, to feel as powerful, as beautiful, as successful, as, as happy as you want to be. Don't let people really get to you as in what you're allowed to think about yourself and how you see the world. And the other one, and this is equally indispensable is the process of objective relationships. So you can't be, you can't really be an individual and completely neglect the collective. And this is where we get to the price. Where was this one? Yeah. Okay. So you have those two things. The one is individuation, and the other one is life lived by collective values. And these are both things, as I said, part of individuation, and nevertheless, they're two divergent destinies. So, and in Jung's view, they're related by guilt. Let me explain this. So, here's like a quote: "Whoever embarks on a personal path becomes to some extent estranged from collective values, but doesn't lose those aspects as part of his soul. That is why it is so dangerous." No, this is what I said. Okay, so this means that you have, let's say, you're in a situation and somebody cries out for your help, just really deeply, and it's like on a frequency only you can hear. Normally, you would always want to help them, although this person hurts you. This person hurts you, but you see that they're hurting inside, so you need to help them. This is a collective value of wanting to help. It's also a collective value that, for example, if you're a woman, that you don't put down men, or that if you're a man, you kind of have this society thing going, telling you, oh, I have to be the strong one. I can't be all that sensitive all the time. You know, there's some certain levels to this, and once you decide that you need to be the person who you really are, which means also, making your anima or your animus conscious. This is I talked about it in another video. So if you're a woman, bringing that dominant male side within you up, and for males it's the other way around, just like kind of being whole and allowing yourself all those aspects which you've kind of like put down to be part of the collective. If you do those things, then you kind of know that there's something you're not doing right in society. You're kind of kicking society. You're kind of turning your back on society at that first point, and there's a guilt to it. I think this is the main problem why we don't do it, because we think when we do this, what is my worth? What is my worth? Why would I do this? Nobody's gonna like me if I act this way. I don't act like society wants me to act. And to atone this desertion when you kind of decide to become individuated, an individual has to create a benefit for society. Yeah, let me get more into this. So, this guilt that you have for kind of leaving society behind, it must endeavor to redeem. The one who is guilty must endeavor to redeem. So he has to offer a ransom for himself. Otherwise, it's immoral and more than suicidal. Yeah, I have experienced this myself. This is why I can talk about it like this. And this is probably the biggest transformation in my life so far. This is the reason why I started all of this. And I was just pushed to a point where I just couldn't take it no more, because there was somebody who was kind of like crying out for me and I needed to help them, but having them around me just made me so miserable, made me so bad. I didn't know what to do, and I thought, okay, I'm not worthy, I'm not good, I can't do anything, I'm not even being praised for making myself small. So I kind of had to see, okay, I need to hurt that person so that person hurts. I had to leave them. I left them. And I felt, as I said, like, okay, who's going to love me now? Because I was always taught that my part in society is that one where I just, make myself small, don't bother anybody, and be nice, and people will take me along on the ride. So once I did that, I needed to understand, in order to get some kind of positive feelings towards me, I need to make something beneficial. I need to create positive emotions for me to really see that me, the way I am, I can bring some benefit to society. I'm also worthy of being included and and then this would give me some kind of self-esteem, because this is not about how society actually thinks about you. Society in general doesn't care about you. Like, this is like, they don't care. Like, I've changed 180 degrees, and probably my closest friends, my family noticed. Like, at work, people don't know, and I have completely changed my worldview. So when you say this is from you have to kind of do some kind of benefit to society, this is always about your personal worldview. You have to kind of make a payoff and do what's morally right from your perspective, because other people have other morals, other things, but this is what you have to do in order. You have to find out what you have to do in order to get some kind of positive things in your life, so you can kind of like actually say, I'm not gonna be that what society has put like a stable, or like, how do you say, just kind of like a print on me and said, oh, you're gonna be this, from my point of view. In my point of view, from that, I was playing that part in society, and I have to get out of that society. And in order to do that, I needed to make a switch, and I needed to bring like a payoff. I needed to do something. And this is why also those videos help me a lot, because they, I can help with that. I could have also done something else. I could have, helped in a shelter. I could have done whatever it is. Mostly it's the best if you can kind of just help somewhere at some point where your personality is really helpful. So helping people understand themselves, being a good friend, being, whatever you can do that is just, you bring some kind of value, you get self-esteem through that, and you can help people. So this is the best thing I can advise. And the individual has no claim for esteem at that point. They have to be content with the esteem for the value they create. So once you're really paying by society's rules, and you're playing by what other people want you to be, you have a certain kind of esteem. People still value you for that. They value you for looking up to them. They value you for, making them feel good, whatever it is. They might not value you a lot, but they value you. There's some kind of, you're still a person. You're whatever it is, in the worst cases, okay? This is, from your perspective, an esteem that can be taken away at some point if you play by the rules. But if you get pushed to a situation where you just kind of like say, okay, this is not going anywhere, this is just going to get worse. Or you decide for yourself, okay, well, I don't want to live like this. I don't want to be valued for how selfless I am, and not really bring any benefit to this. This is not making me happy. Then you have to be satisfied with the esteem you get for what you create in the world and what you do in the world. And you not so much about being, having, just living each day and not doing anything, and having a feeling of, you're good enough. It is difficult like this. You have to understand that if you want to you go on that path of individuation, as in being yourself, you need to have somewhere where you really bring a benefit. Otherwise, it's not really bearable. Because you think like, what is my worth in this world? What am I doing that is being, that's giving me worthiness in this life? And normally we get a specific amount of that just by playing by the rules. And if you want to not play by the rules, then you have to have like some kind of payoff. And I think it just happens naturally, because if you kind of like get away from that path, then you kind of like just lack love, and you lack some kind of, not so much like love from other people, although that is also true, but also a thing of, I need to do something in my life, otherwise my life is just completely worthless. And then you kind of do those things. And in Jung's view, no one is ever completely individuated, while the goal is wholeness. True value is, achieved through what happens on the road, on that path to everything. So you create something, you make a life of other people better, but you know, this is the payoff, as I said. If you play by the rules, then you can't be that much your own person. The less you play by the rules, the more you become who you really are, the more you have to kind of like put something out there that's gonna be a ransom for it. That's gonna, you know, kind of give you that back, what you kind of take off by not playing by the rules. Okay, so this is it for today. I talk to you. Normally I do those videos every 3 weeks. So yeah, hope you like those ones, and talk to you soon. Bye.